Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Phil Pravda here, Suit Cafe, suitcafe.com. And hope you've enjoyed the few polls that we've had on YouTube. And this video is because of one of those polls. Basically, there's a poll that says 60% of you would like to see how I make a beautiful tie knot, very simple, easy to do every day, that stays in place all day long, just like this on your neck, doesn't come undone, doesn't slide down, doesn't get messed up no matter what you're doing, always stays nice, neat, clean, and crisp. A lot of you know tie knots from, maybe your father taught you a tie knot, or maybe you learned one in school, and some of you want to go with those, which is great, whether it's half Windsor or full Windsor. But this is different than those, and if you want to learn about it, you're going to watch the rest of this video. I'm going to show you the most amazing, easiest to tie knot that stays all day right now. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. And here we are with my good friend, the mannequin right here. So I'm going to show you how to tie this tie. Picked a nice contrast for you here so you can really see the tie against the white shirt. Hopefully you can hear me okay because the microphone is sort of down here on the table. But in any event, the most important thing, besides doing the tie knot, by the way, is how you put the tie on behind the collar. What a lot of people like to do, they put on their shirt, they button the neck, then they lift up the collar while they're breaking their own skin. They put the tie around the collar like this, and then they break the collar by putting it down. That makes it much more difficult. The very easy way of doing it is leaving the top button open. That's right, always leave this top button open. Let me get this top button open. It's a little tight on this mannequin. Okay, so now you put your shirt on. Okay, you put your shirt on. You leave the top button open. Very simple, okay? You lift up your collar. Now you're comfortable. Your top button is open. You're not squeezing your neck trying to lift this collar up, but the collar stays in. It's stiff. You're like, oh my God. And then when you get the collar down, if you leave this top button buttoned, then you get all these ripples and wrinkles in your collar and it never lays flat. And you don't want that. So leave the top button open, take your tie, wrap it around just like this, and don't do anything but put the collar down. Now you can put the collar down at your leisure. See, you don't have any wrinkles around the collar. And now what you want to do is button this top button. And unfortunately, this shirt is a little tiny for this mannequin, but I think I got it. Sorry, my head is in the way. Okay, there we go. So now we got your top button buttoned. Okay, so now you're ready to make your tie knot. And how are you going to do that? Well, first you're going to move this. I got to hold the mannequin still. You're going to move your tie back and forth a few times like that. Of course, it's easier when you're doing it on yourself in the mirror. Or after you learn this tie knot, you're not even going to need a mirror. You're going to be just going whip, 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 and you're going to be done. So the reason I'm going back and forth a little bit is so this part of the tie that's around your neck goes higher underneath the collar. You don't want it to sit so low that in the back it starts to come out of your shirt collar. You want it to be hidden under your shirt collar. So by moving it back and forth, what you're doing is you're slowly inching that fabric up higher and higher until it reaches up here. You really want it as high as you can get it up underneath the collar. That way, during the day, it doesn't slide down. You ever see somebody who's walking around and you see their shirt collar and the tie is sticking halfway out over here? That doesn't look very good. So you don't want that to happen. You want it to be high up underneath the collar right here. So do that. And after you do that, now you're going to look to see how long you're going to make this tie. Now, I'm 6'3". I like my tie to be sort of just above my belt. I don't like it to be, you can't see, I don't know if you can see this here, but it's just above the top of my belt. Not sure if you can see it. It's just above the top of my belt. I don't want it on my belt. I don't want it on my zipper. I want it just at the top of my belt right there, okay? So that's where I like to wear my tie. When I close my jacket, you don't see the bottom of the tie sticking out, and it gives you a nice proportion on the front of your chest in terms of the size of the knot and the width of the tie. You don't want the knot to be too skinny, then your tie is too long. And then when your knot is really fat, your tie is too short and there's no other way around it. And then the skinny part of your tie will stick out on the bottom really long when your tie is really fat. So let me show you here that when you pull your tie from side to side, you can see that the tie on the part of the tie that's on the upper part, this is the smaller tie which is underneath. See, we crisscross it there. You can see that this part of the tie obviously starts to get wider as we go down towards the end of the tie. Okay, so here we are. So we have the wider part of the tie over the skinnier part of the tie. And we don't want to make this too short like that. And we don't want to make this too long, like too long down here. We want to make sure that we have it nicely proportioned. Now, how do we do that? We want to make our first turn around on the part of the tie where it just starts to get a little wider. Not where it's all skinny. It's just starting to get a little wider, like right over here. So that's where we want to make our turn. So I'm going to move it up a little bit, just like that. See, it's just starting to get wider right over here. That's where we want to make our turn. And this is a very simple knot. You're going to see how simple this is right now. So all we're going to do is we're going to turn it around one time, just like that. And then we're going to lift it through the middle here, just like this. Okay, and we're just going to stop for a second. So that's what we got right now. Okay, so here we are where we have the first turn of the knot underneath. We went up and through one time only, and then we left it just as that. So what are we going to do next? Very simple. We're just going to take our larger part of our tie, and we're going to put it in between right here and down and through. We're still not going to make this tight. Some people like to make the tie knot and all of a sudden they're wrapping it tight and tight like they're hanging themselves. We don't want to make it tight, okay? We're just going to put it in right here. See how loose it is? Look how loose that is. Loosey-goosey, look how loose that is. And we're just going to pull it through just like this. Okay, now we can make the shape of our knot very easily. If we want, we could take the edges of the silk. We can pick it up like that, okay, which is what I like to do. I call it like the inverted knot. We can take those edges and put them down. If we don't like the edges up, we can do it any way we want. And then we slowly, as we pull the larger part down, the knot starts to get a little tighter. So we pull it down just a little bit. And now we take the smaller end, and now we can lift this up. Okay, just like so, as much as we want. And now we can sort of try and make it. This is actually the knot that I make on the mannequins in the window display. Because it's a little fancier knot. See how it stands up like that? And now we take our other end and we put it right behind the tie, through the labels, through the self loop. Line it up. Just like so. Okay, and there you have your tie knot, just like that. Now, I know most people don't want it as fancy as this because it's standing up and it's sticking out and you have the edges up, but you don't have to do it that way. Just put the edges down, lift it up, and it'll be perfect, just like the one I'm wearing today. You see, that's the same knot, but when I wear it myself, I don't lift the edges up. I just leave the edges down, and that's how it comes out. So that's a very, very simple knot. And then when you take it out, when you take it apart, you just undo the back just like that, and you slowly undo it like this because you don't want to pull your tie and rip it apart. And you just lift it out from the knot, and since it's only wound around sort of one time, you can undo it just like this. And then when you're ready to take it off, undo the button, then take the tie out. And that's all there is to it. So it's a very simple knot. I'm going to do this again, and we're going to do a close-up so you could really see the motions. And then you'll get all the steps one by one. Okay, so here we are, a little closer up now so you can see what's happening. And right now we have the tie, the shirt buttoned. As I said, we're going to unbutton. We're going to lift the collar. We're going to put the tie around the back. And then we are going to lower the collar. And now that we're comfortable, just like this, we are going to do our... straighten this out a little bit for you. We're going to do our button. This, like I said before, this this shirt is a little tight on this mannequin. So I really got to stretch it over to get that button through. I did it before. I could do it again. Right? Come on, man. Oh, almost had it. I don't know what happened. This guy's neck got bigger. Okay, here we go. All right, there we go. So we got it properly buttoned right there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move this back and forth a little bit because we want to make sure that the silk from the tie, remember, goes as high as possible under the shirt collar right here, as high as possible. Now we're going to have our larger part of the tie on the top of the smaller part of the tie. We're going to crisscross them like that. And now we're going to look for the part of the tie where the tie just starts to get a little wider. We don't want it on the very narrow part. We don't want it on the super wide part. We want it just where it starts to get a little wider. And we're going to figure out that, just eyeball it. It's nothing that has to be exact. And we're going to say that that's about good. Then we're going to hold it here. We're going to go just around sort of one time, right? It's almost like a half. And then we're going to go right up and through. And then we're going to leave it just like that. And we're going to relax for a minute because we don't want to pull our tie knot very tightly. We don't want it to be tight. Okay, so after we get that, we could be looking in the mirror. That's how we have it, just like this. Then we're going to take the large part of the tie and we are going to put it through the front of that knot. So we're just going to put it through. Let me hold that back a little bit so you can see a little better. And we're going to put it through just like this. Now, I'm not going to pull it tight. See, I keep it nice and loose. See how nice and loose that is? Nice and loose and open. And then we're going to pull this down. Now we can pull it down a little tighter to get the exact shape we want. Like I said before, sometimes I roll the edges up to get this beautiful, nice wide dimple here. And the edges are up. Not for everybody. If you don't want the edges up, just put the edges down and you get the dimple like there as well. So here I have the edges up and I pulled it down a little tight. I squeeze it a little bit here. And really my knot is done. All I have to do now is take my smaller end and push the tie knot all the way up without knocking over the mannequin. Put it to the side a little bit. Keep pulling on the other one. And there I have my tie knot. See? Just like that. I have this nice, beautiful... Now, this is a little flamboyant, I understand, but this is how I like to do it when I'm dressing a mannequin. That's not necessarily for someone who wants to wear a tie to work, like if they work in a bank. You might want to be as flamboyant as that. But, you can see from the side here, when you look at this tie, you see how wide that became? Only because the top edges of the top part are rolled up. That's the only reason why this became wide over here. So there you have. But if you want to do it the other way, you have no problem of doing it the other way either. Right? You just have them down and you'll have your tie knot. See, just like that with a nice little dimple just in the center. Right there, and it's not as flamboyant. And like I showed you in the tie knot that I have on today, it's just like this. I did the same thing just like that. Now this knot is very simple that you could just put around your neck, button your shirt button, crisscross it around once and through, and you're basically done. And pull it up to your neck and make it a little tight. And that's the whole knot. And it's very simple, very easy. It'll stay like that all day long. It's not going to go sideways. It's not going to fall down. That's not going to happen to this knot unless you want it to happen, but it will not happen to this knot. And for myself, I always like the knot to be right up to the top of the neck. I like my shirt collar touching right at the top, and I want to make sure that both sides of my shirt collar are down. So you might want to pull your shirt collar down, press it a little bit when you have your tie all done. But that's completely up to you. That's completely up to your individual taste. I like it. I keep doing this because I like it like that. But anyway, to each his own in your tie knot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. There is a little close-up of this. And I'm going to post it all for you who wanted to actually see this in the poll. And that's about it. See you all again when I'm back at it.